A man plans the perfect autumn day to propose to the love of his life in a park surrounded by golden leaves. As they walk under the trees, reminiscing about their journey together, he drops to one knee and offers her a future full of love and promises. Crisp autumn air enveloped the city, and shades of red, gold, and amber blanketed the park, creating a magical landscape that seemed to whisper of love stories waiting to be told. Oliver Hart stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking out at the park below. It was their park, the one where he and Emma had spent countless weekends over the past 5 years, walking under the trees, sharing dreams, and building their life together. And now the time had come. He was going to ask her the question he had been carrying in his heart for the past year. Today, everything would change. For weeks, Oliver had been meticulously planning the perfect proposal. He knew that Emma loved the quiet beauty of fall, the way the world felt wrapped in a golden embrace, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet, and the cool breeze that whispered promises of change. Today was the day he would ask her to be with him forever, under the trees where they had laughed, cried, and grown together. Oliver and Emma met at their favorite cafe that morning, just as they had done every Saturday for years. The small cafe was tucked away on a quiet street, with large windows that framed the beauty of autumn outside. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries greeted them as they stepped inside. Emma was radiant, her soft chestnut hair catching the morning light, her cheeks flushed from the cool breeze. She was everything Oliver had ever dreamed of, kind, intelligent, and with a sense of humor that always lit up the darkest of days. As they sipped their coffee, they talked about their week, laughing over inside jokes and enjoying the simplicity of being together. "I love autumn," Emma said, gazing out the window. "It always feels like everything is changing, but in a good way." Oliver smiled, his heart racing as he thought of the changes that lay ahead. "It's my favorite season, too." After breakfast, they made their way to the park. The towering oak and maple trees stood like sentinels, their branches heavy with golden leaves that fluttered down gently with each passing breeze. The ground was a patchwork of vibrant autumn colors, and as they walked along the familiar path, Oliver reached for Emma's hand, squeezing it gently. "This place has always felt special," she said, her eyes wandering over the landscape. "It's like our own little world." He nodded, his thoughts drifting back to their first date here, where they had spent hours talking about life, ambitions, and love. The park had witnessed their journey together, from the early days of nervous laughter and stolen glances to the deep, comforting bond they now shared. As they continued to walk, the wind picked up slightly, swirling leaves around them. Emma's laughter filled the air as she spun in circles, catching the golden leaves in her hands. Oliver's heart swelled with love. Everything felt perfect. The path curved, leading them to a clearing surrounded by trees whose leaves shimmered like gold under the soft afternoon sunlight. It was the spot Oliver had chosen, a secluded area where the world seemed to pause, holding its breath in anticipation. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the small velvet box in his pocket. The moment had arrived. "Emma," he said softly, stopping in his tracks. She turned to him, her eyes curious but filled with love. "What is it?" Oliver took her hands in his heart pounding in his chest. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about the life we've built together, all the memories we've shared in this very park. And every time I think about the future, I realize there's only one thing I know for certain. I want to spend it with you." Emma's eyes widened slightly, her breath catching as he dropped to one knee, pulling out the small box. "Emma, you've brought more joy, love, and laughter into my life than I ever thought possible. You're my best friend, my partner, and the person I want to wake up next to for the rest of my days. Will you marry me?" The world seemed to still. The golden leaves continued to fall around them, gently landing on Oliver's shoulders as he looked up at her, his heart laid bare. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she pressed her hand to her mouth, overwhelmed by the moment. "Oh my God, Oliver," she whispered, her voice trembling. Yes, of course I will." Time slowed as Emma knelt down beside him, throwing her arms around his neck. Oliver held her tightly, his face buried in her hair, breathing in the familiar scent of her that always brought him comfort. She pulled back slightly, her eyes filled with tears and happiness as he slipped the ring onto her finger. It sparkled in the soft autumn sunlight, a symbol of their love and the future they would build together. They sat there for a moment, wrapped in each other's arms, with the golden leaves swirling around them. The world outside the park continued, unaware of the quiet miracle that had just occurred. But for Oliver and Emma, nothing else mattered. In that clearing under the canopy of autumn leaves, they had made a promise that would last a lifetime. As the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden glow over the park, Oliver and Emma walked hand in hand back to the cafe where their day had begun. They spoke of their future, the house they would build, the adventures they would embark on, the family they would one day have. Oliver felt an overwhelming sense of peace. He had always believed that love was something fragile, something that could slip away if you weren't careful. But now, walking beside Emma, he realized that true love wasn't fragile at all. It was strong, unwavering, and capable of growing more beautiful with time. As they reached the cafe, Oliver paused, pulling Emma into his arms. "I can't wait to start this next chapter with you," he said, his voice filled with emotion. She smiled up at him, her eyes reflecting the autumn colors around them. "Neither can I." And with that, they kissed, the golden leaves continuing to fall around them, as if the very world was celebrating their love. This story captures the beauty, warmth, and emotion of a perfect autumn proposal, filled with romantic atmosphere, emotional depth, and heartfelt moments that bring their love story to life.